she'll never say it. Not to her girlfriends, not to you, not even to herself. But every woman, no matter how strong, independent, or successful, has one dark fantasy she hides. It's not about flowers, or long talks, or being understood. It's about surrendering her control to a man she can't ignore. The kind of man who doesn't ask for permission, who doesn't seek approval, who doesn't need to be told what to do because he already knows. Right now, most men are doing everything they were told makes them a good partner. Buying nice, buying sensitive, buying available. They try harder, text first, give space, show patience, buy gifts, ask how she feels. And yet, she pulls back. The more he gives, the more she withdraws. He thinks she's complicated, confusing, unreachable. But the truth is simpler and darker. She's tired of controlling everything. At work, at home, in life. She wants to let go, but only if she trusts you enough to hold that power. This video is not about tricks. It's about polarity, psychology, and what truly awakens her deepest desire, whether she admits it or not. Once you understand this, you'll never compete with nice guys again. You'll stop chasing and start leading. Let's get into it. Number 1. She wants to surrender. Every man has heard it before. Women say they want kindness, sensitivity, equality, and respect. And all of that is true on the surface. But there's another truth hiding underneath the polished answers. It's the truth no woman wants to say out loud, because admitting it feels dangerous. The truth is this: she wants to surrender. Not her dignity, not her independence, but the endless control she carries every single day. She wants to feel safe enough in your presence to finally let it all go. Think about her world for a second. At work, she's in meetings, making decisions, managing deadlines. At home, she's paying bills, solving problems, carrying the emotional weight of everything. Out in society, she's told she has to be unstoppable, independent, unshakable, perfectly in control, and she does it day after day. But here's the paradox. The more she leads, the more she quietly longs for a man who doesn't hand her more decisions, but takes some off her plate. A man who can create space for her to relax into her feminine energy without shame. That is the fantasy she never speaks about, but always feels. Let me make this concrete. David is a 51-year-old attorney in Chicago. Successful, respected, confident in court. He recently started dating Lisa, 46, an executive at a healthcare company. Lisa is strong, quick, and used to being in charge, but in their relationship, something surprising happened. She admitted hesitant, almost embarrassed, that what she found most attractive wasn't David's career, or his wealth, or his compliments. It was the way he told the waiter what they were having without hesitation. It was the way he told her, "I'll pick you up at 8, be ready," without checking 5 times if she was okay with it. It was the way he held eye contact, unshaken, when she teased him. For a woman who spends all day commanding, that kind of grounded decisiveness wasn't controlling, it was liberating. Lisa didn't want David to dominate her. She didn't want to be ordered around. What she wanted was to trust him enough to surrender the control she was tired of carrying everywhere else. And that's the dark fantasy most women have. The freedom to stop holding everything together, to stop deciding, to stop managing, and just melt into a man's frame. Here's where so many men fail. They confuse surrender with submission. They think it's about being aggressive, barking orders, playing some caricature of alpha male. That's not it. True surrender isn't forced. It can't be demanded. It happens naturally when she feels your strength is steady, not brittle. When she feels your emotions are calm, not chaotic. When she sees that your presence doesn't crumble under pressure. That's when she relaxes. That's when she softens. That's when her attraction deepens. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." A man who embodies that is unshakable. He doesn't beg for reassurance. He doesn't react wildly when tested. He acts from clarity, not fear. And that calm confidence is exactly what gives a woman the safety to surrender. David noticed the difference in Lisa after a few months. When he leaned into his leadership, making plans, staying calm when she pushed, refusing to apologize for his identity, her energy changed. She became playful, softer, more affectionate. She laughed more, touched him more, and for once, she didn't feel the need to control every moment. That wasn't weakness, that was trust, that was desire. So here's the reality. Women don't surrender to just any man. They surrender to a man who can hold it, who won't misuse it, who doesn't need her to validate his every move. That's why this fantasy stays hidden. It requires a man who refuses to collapse under her storm, a man who keeps his edge even when she tests it, a man who leads himself first, and in doing so, makes her want to follow. Have you ever noticed how the strongest women become the softest around certain men? That's not an accident. That's the hidden truth most men never get to see. And if you want to unlock it, it starts with becoming the kind of man she can actually trust enough to let go. Now, if you're ready to claim this for yourself, type it below. I hold power. 3 words, nothing else. Say it once, clearly, and make it yours. And don't leave yet, because what comes next will shake the way you think about attraction. It's not what you expect, but it's exactly what you need to hear. Number 2. Stop asking, start leading. One of the biggest mistakes men make in relationships is turning every decision into a question. Do you want to go here? Is it okay if I say this? Are you fine with me doing that? On the surface, it sounds polite. It sounds considerate. But underneath, it sends the wrong signal. Because every time you ask instead of led, you're communicating that you don't trust your own judgment. Here's the truth. Women don't fantasize about being your manager. They don't want to carry the mental load of making every call. They already do that all day, at work, at home, in their lives. What they crave is a man who takes the wheel confidently, a man who makes choices without hesitation, a man who doesn't collapse into endless questions, but sets the tone and moves forward with certainty. This doesn't mean being controlling. It doesn't mean ignoring her perspective or shutting her voice down. It means stepping into leadership with clarity. It means replacing nervous questions with grounded direction. Instead of asking 3 times where she wants to eat, you say, "I'll pick you up at 7. We're going here." Instead of waiting for her approval before you share your opinion, you state it calmly and stand behind it. Instead of shrinking back when challenged, you remain steady and firm. Why does this matter so much? Because leadership creates polarity. When you hesitate, she has to fill the space. And when she fills the space, the dynamic flips. She becomes the leader, you become the follower, and attraction erodes quietly in the background. It doesn't matter how kind, generous, or loyal you are if she has to take the reins because you won't. She won't feel the energy that draws her closer. The Stoics understood this principle long before modern psychology gave it labels. Epictetus taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That's leadership in its simplest form. You decide who you are, you move with purpose, and you stop waiting for others to tell you it's okay. A man who lives by this doesn't second-guess himself into weakness. He acts with intention, and women feel that strength instantly. Asking endlessly comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of upsetting her, fear of being wrong. But here's the paradox. The very act of trying to avoid mistakes is the thing that costs you her respect. She doesn't want you to be perfect. She wants you to be decisive. She wants to feel your direction, even if it's not flawless. Because direction is more magnetic than endless indecision. Imagine the difference in her body language when you hesitate versus when you lead. When you hesitate, she tenses, she waits, she starts to question if you're really the man she can lean into. But when you lead, she exhales, she softens, she follows not because she's weak, but because your clarity gives her the freedom to relax. That's the power of leading without asking. So stop asking for permission to be the man you already are. Stop seeking approval for every move you make. Lead with calm confidence. Lead with grounded presence. And let her feel what it's like to finally not have to control everything. That is far more attractive than any bouquet of flowers or string of compliments could ever be. Now, if you're ready to claim this shift, drop a comment with 3 simple words. I lead now. Say it once, clearly, and make it real. And stay tuned, because what you'll hear next will change how you think about strength itself, not in the way the world defines it, but in the way women secretly respond to it. Number 3. Her strength hides her craving. On the surface, she looks untouchable. She's sharp, confident, ambitious. She walks into a room and people pay attention. She negotiates deals, manages deadlines, holds everything together. And if you listen to her words, she'll tell you she doesn't need anyone, that she's fine on her own, that she's tired of men who can't handle her strength. But here's the secret she won't admit. Her strength often hides her craving. Behind the armor of independence lives a desire that has nothing to do with money, status, or gifts. She wants a man strong enough to let her drop the armor. She wants a man whose presence is steady enough that she can finally stop fighting for control. That is the fantasy she never puts into words, but it shows up in how she reacts when she feels your grounded energy. Let me make this real. Mark is 48, a construction manager in Dallas. He recently started seeing Anna, 45, a successful attorney. Anna is quick, fiery, and intimidating to most men. She's used to being the smartest person in the room. On their first dates, she kept testing him, challenging his opinions, teasing him sharply, watching closely how he'd react. Most men, Mark knew, would either shrink under her dominance or overcompensate by arguing aggressively. He did neither. He listened. He answered calmly. When she tried to push him off balance, he smiled, held eye contact, and stayed grounded. Something shifted. Anna softened. She leaned in closer. She started laughing more. The sharp edges dulled not because she lost her strength, but because she finally felt safe enough to stop using it as a shield. Mark didn't need to overpower her. He just needed to be unshakable. And in that steadiness, she found what she was really craving: release. That's the paradox many men miss. The stronger she appears, the deeper the craving often is. Not for weakness, not for submission, but for a moment where she can stop carrying everything alone. And the only man who can unlock that side of her is the one who refuses to be rattled by her armor. If you've ever wondered why the most confident women often end up drawn to men who are calm, centered, and quietly powerful, it's because polarity demands it. Her strength isn't the problem, it's her protection. And when she finally feels that she doesn't need to protect herself around you, that's when attraction explodes. Stoicism explains this perfectly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." A man who embodies this truth doesn't get triggered when she's sharp. He doesn't get flustered when she tests him. He doesn't need to win. He simply holds his ground. And that groundedness is exactly what allows her to set her strength down, at least for a little while. Mark told me later that Anna admitted something after a few months. She said, "I like that I don't have to be the strong one with you." That was her craving speaking, the one she never said out loud before. And that's the hidden reality. No matter how tough, accomplished, or independent she seems, part of her is still waiting for a man who lets her feel feminine again, not because he takes her power away, but because his is undeniable. So don't be fooled by the walls. Don't think her strength means she has no desire to surrender. The truth is, the stronger she looks, the deeper the craving might be. Now it's your turn. If you've ever seen a strong woman soften in your presence, type it below. I've seen this. And don't go anywhere, because what comes next will cut deeper into how attraction really works. It's the kind of truth most men never face, but the ones who do never see women the same way again. Number 4. Polarity turns her on. Attraction is not logical. You can't reason your way into it. You can't explain it into existence. And you definitely can't talk her into feeling it. Attraction runs on energy, and the most powerful energy of all is polarity. Masculine and feminine, opposite but complementary, pulling each other like magnets. When polarity is strong, desire comes alive. When polarity dies, so does passion. Here's the problem. Most men are killing polarity without even realizing it. They think being agreeable, being endlessly supportive, or being overly sensitive will make her love them more. Instead, it makes the energy flat. She doesn't feel the spark. She doesn't feel the pull. Because she can't surrender to a man who keeps collapsing into her frame instead of holding his own. Polarity isn't about playing roles. It's not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about embodying your masculine energy fully so she can relax into her feminine energy without fear. When you lead with calm strength, she softens. When you hesitate, she hardens. When you stand grounded, she opens. That's how attraction works at its deepest level. It's not what you say. It's the energy she feels in her body when she's around you. The Stoics understood this dynamic long before psychology gave it a name. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." In other words, a man must first claim his identity, his principles, his edge, his direction. Only then can he embody the kind of energy that draws her in. If you don't know who you are, you'll constantly adapt to her moods. You'll shrink when she's strong. You'll wait for cues instead of leading with clarity. And when you do that, polarity vanishes. Think about how this shows up in everyday life. If you're always asking what she wants to eat, where she wants to go, how she wants to spend her time, you're handing her the masculine pole. You're making her the one who leads, decides, and carries the responsibility. And she might accept it, but she won't feel turned on by it. Polarity fades because you've blurred the energetic line. Two people can't both be leading, and two people can't both be surrendering. One must stand firm, the other must relax. That's what creates the fire. Polarity doesn't mean dominance. It doesn't mean control. It means clarity. It means the masculine energy moves first with purpose, and the feminine responds with openness. That's what unlocks her hidden fantasy, the ability to let go of control without losing respect. That's what she craves, even if she never says it out loud. And the men who understand this truth separate themselves instantly from the ones who keep wondering why she pulled away. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If your thoughts are scattered, anxious, desperate for approval, your energy will follow. You'll show up weak, hesitant, seeking her permission. But if your thoughts are rooted in self-respect, your energy will project strength. And that strength doesn't need words, it's felt. That's polarity in action. That's what turns her on. So stop thinking you can talk her into attraction. Stop trying to win her with endless explanations or emotional bargaining. You don't create polarity by asking for it. You create it by embodying it, by standing firm in your masculine presence and letting her feel the contrast. That contrast is what wakes up her desire. That's what her body responds to long before her mind catches up. Now, if you're ready to claim polarity instead of killing it, write this in the comments. I bring fire. 3 words, nothing more. Say it, own it, and let it become who you are. And stay close, because the next truth will expose a habit most men think is love, but in reality, it's the quiet reason she loses respect. Number 5. Confidence, not comfort. Most men think women want comfort. They believe if they're safe enough, predictable enough, agreeable enough, she'll stay. They think being the man who never argues, never challenges, never shakes the ground is the path to keeping her love. But here's the problem. Comfort doesn't create desire, confidence does. Let's make this real. Kevin is 54, runs his own landscaping business in Florida. After his divorce, he started dating Michelle, 50, a high school principal. Michelle had been in long-term relationships before, and she knew what she didn't want. Another man who acted like a people-pleaser. At first, Kevin worried that being too direct would scare her off. But over time, he noticed something strange when he was overly cautious, checking too often if she was okay. She would pull away. But when he stood tall, spoke his mind without apology, and didn't flinch when she challenged him, she leaned in. She smiled more. She touched him more. Michelle didn't need another man who made her comfortable. She wanted a man who made her feel alive. And Kevin learned that the difference wasn't money or charm, it was confidence. Confidence tells her you don't need to be constantly validated. It tells her you're not afraid to lose her. It tells her that your identity doesn't depend on whether she approves of your choices. And that's exactly what makes her feel attraction. Because deep down, women don't crave endless safety wrapped in softness. They crave the thrill of being with a man who knows who he is and doesn't fold just to keep her happy. Comfort is predictable. Confidence is magnetic. Comfort says, I'll do whatever it takes to avoid conflict. Confidence says, I'll stand in who I am, and you can choose whether to meet me there. The first creates lukewarm companionship. The second creates fire. This doesn't mean being arrogant. It doesn't mean ignoring her needs or steamrolling her voice. Real confidence is calm. It's steady. It's rooted in self-respect. That's why it turns her on. Because when she feels your grounded presence, she doesn't have to question if you'll collapse under pressure. She can trust you. She can relax. And that's what makes her want more. Kevin told me later that the turning point with Michelle was one night at dinner. She tested him, asked if he'd cancel a fishing trip with his buddies to spend more time with her. In the past, he would have said yes immediately, just to keep the peace. This time, he looked her in the eye and said, "Number, that trip matters to me. I want you to be okay with that." Instead of getting angry, Michelle smiled. She told him later that was the moment she realized he wasn't going to bend just to please her. That's when her respect and her attraction deepened. So here's the truth. Women don't stay for comfort. They stay for confidence. They stay for the man who knows his worth and won't trade it for approval. Comfort makes her feel safe. Confidence makes her feel desire. And the man who can balance both is the one she won't forget. Now it's your turn. If you know you've been choosing comfort when you should have been showing confidence, type it below. I choose strength. And don't go anywhere, because the next truth will challenge something even deeper, the subtle signals she sends without saying a word, and why ignoring them is the costliest mistake you can make. Number 6. Silence speaks louder. Silence is never neutral. It always says something. The problem is that most men refuse to hear it. They convince themselves that no message must be a good message, that her pulling back is just temporary, that the unanswered text, the cold tone, the lack of effort is nothing to worry about. But here's the truth. Silence is communication, and it often screams louder than words. When a woman stops responding with energy, when she goes quiet, when the warmth fades, you don't need a long explanation. You already have your answer. Her silence tells you where you stand. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. Pretending it doesn't mean anything just makes you look blind to the reality right in front of you. Most men try to fix silence with more noise. They text again. They explain themselves. They push harder, hoping she'll finally respond. But every time you chase her quietness with more effort, you're sending the message that you can't handle reality. And that's when respect dies. The Stoics would never ignore a signal like this. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." Silence is one of those signals. It shows you what's not working. It tells you she's not invested. And the man who seeks truth doesn't argue with that, he accepts it. This doesn't mean you punish her. It doesn't mean you go cold to teach her a lesson. It means you pay attention to the reality of the dynamic. If she's disengaging, you stop pouring energy into the void. You pull back with composure. You focus on yourself, not on convincing her to come back. That's the difference between a man who loses himself in denial and a man who holds his power no matter what. Think about it. When her silence grows, and you stay calm, grounded, and clear, you're sending the strongest possible message you're not afraid of the truth. But when you chase, beg, and explain, you're telling her that your value depends on her attention, and nothing kills attraction faster than that. The reason silence is so powerful is because it forces you to see what's really happening. If she wanted to be there, she would. If she wanted to connect, she would. If she wanted to invest, she would. Silence removes all the excuses. It strips everything down to action or lack of it. And once you see silence for what it is, you gain clarity. You stop clinging to fantasy. You stop bargaining with reality. You become the man who doesn't need her constant validation to know where he stands. That's strength. That's presence. That's Stoicism in action. So here's the challenge. Stop ignoring what her silence says. Start hearing it for what it really is. And act accordingly, not with anger, not with fear, but with self-respect. Now, if you're ready to face silence with strength instead of denial, type it in the comments. I see truth. And don't look away now, because what's coming will dig into the hidden role you've been playing without realizing it, and why it's draining the very energy that should be pulling her closer. Number 7. Masculine energy moves here. Masculine energy is not about muscles, money, or dominance. It's not about being loud or aggressive. It's about grounded presence, the kind of calm strength that doesn't waver when life gets messy. That's what women respond to at the deepest level. That's what moves her, even when she can't explain why. A lot of men confuse masculine energy with bravado. They puff their chest, talk big, flex achievements, or throw money around. But that's not real masculinity. That's performance. And performance doesn't move her. It entertains her for a moment, but it doesn't awaken that hidden craving. Real masculine energy is quiet but undeniable. It's the steadiness that makes her feel safe enough to let go. It's the clarity that makes her trust you without needing endless reassurance. Let's bring this to life. Steve is 56, a firefighter in New Jersey. After years of being single, he started seeing Laura, 49, a nurse who was used to making decisions and caring for everyone around her. On their first few dates, Laura admitted she was skeptical. She'd met plenty of men who talked big but crumbled under pressure. But Steve was different. He didn't rush to impress her. He didn't fill silence with nervous chatter. He listened. He looked her in the eye. He told her what he wanted and followed through. One night, when plans went sideways, Steve didn't panic. The restaurant they'd picked was unexpectedly closed, and Laura expected frustration. Instead, Steve laughed, said, "Follow me," and took her to a small diner he liked down the road. No drama, no hesitation, just calm direction. And Laura admitted later that moment turned her on more than anything he could have said. Why? Because his masculine energy wasn't about controlling her. It was about guiding the moment with steadiness. And in that steadiness, she felt free to relax. That's what moves a woman, not comfort, not endless agreement, but the presence of a man who knows who he is and isn't shaken by small setbacks. The truth is, women live in a world of constant demands and pressure. They're expected to lead, provide, and manage more than ever before. What they crave in a relationship isn't another responsibility, it's polarity. It's the masculine energy that gives them permission to step out of control and into desire. This doesn't mean being harsh or detached. It means living by principle. It means being rooted in your values. It means moving through the world with confidence that doesn't need applause. That's why masculine energy is magnetic, because it's rare. When Steve embodied that energy, Laura didn't just feel attracted, she felt safe. She told him later, With you, I don't have to think about everything. That's the fantasy, being able to let go, even for a little while, in the presence of a man whose energy is unshakable. So here's the lesson. Your masculine energy isn't something you fake. It's something you cultivate by living with purpose, discipline, and clarity. When you embody that, she feels it instantly. And when she feels it, she can't help but move toward it. Now, if you're ready to stop performing and start embodying real masculine energy, type it below. I am steady. No. And don't look away yet, because what's next will challenge the very way you approach attraction and reveal why hesitation quietly kills it every time. Number 8. Hesitation kills attraction. Nothing drains attraction faster than hesitation. Not bad jokes, not awkward silence, not even mistakes. It's the pause before acting, the second guessing, the overthinking that slowly kills desire. Because hesitation tells her you don't trust yourself, and if you don't trust yourself, why should she? Attraction thrives on decisiveness. When you see something and move, when you feel something and say it, when you take action without waiting for permission, that's what creates polarity. That's what makes her body relax into yours. But hesitation? Hesitation puts her in the driver's seat, whether she wants to be there or not. And once she feels she has to lead, the dynamic changes. Respecter audis, desire fadis. Most men hesitate because they fear making the wrong move. They worry she won't like their choice, that she'll think less of them, that they'll upset her. But here's the paradox. Trying to avoid the risk of being wrong is what guarantees you'll lose. Because a woman would rather be with a man who makes a clear move, even if it's imperfect, than a man who constantly hovers on the edge, waiting for her to decide. The Stoics were relentless about this principle. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Wasted time is not just in years, it's in moments. Every time you hesitate instead of acting, you waste the opportunity to create attraction. You waste the chance to lead. You waste the chance to be felt as a man who knows who he is." Think about how hesitation shows up. You want to kiss her, but you overthink it until the moment is gone. You want to ask her out, but you wait too long and she assumes you're not interested. You want to disagree, but you swallow your truth and nod along. Every hesitation chips away at your edge, and when your edge dulls, so does her desire. This doesn't mean acting recklessly. It doesn't mean ignoring her completely. It means owning your choices without apology. It means valuing clarity over perfection. It means leading with conviction even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes her feel pulled into your orbit. When you hesitate, she feels your uncertainty. She feels the wobble in your frame, and uncertainty in you creates uncertainty in her. But when you move decisively, even if she disagrees, she feels your strength. She feels the solidity of a man who knows his own direction. And that solidity is infinitely more attractive than endless caution. So here's the truth. Mistakes don't kill, attraction, hesitation does. A bold choice can be forgiven, a wrong move can be corrected, but hesitation tells her you don't believe in yourself. And no woman can believe in a man who doesn't. Now it's your turn. If you're ready to drop hesitation and step into decisive action, write this in the comments. I move first. 3 words, nothing more. And don't step away yet, because what's coming next isn't just about attraction, it's about the deeper edge every man must hold if he wants to be remembered. Number 9. She needs your edge. Every woman has it in her, the test. The little push to see if you'll bend, the sharp comment to see if you'll fold. The moment where she throws a challenge your way, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she wants to feel your edge. And here's the truth. Without that edge, there's no attraction. Without it, she may like you, even respect you, but she will not feel the fire. Your edge isn't arrogance, it isn't aggression, it's the line you refuse to cross, even for her approval. It's the boundaries you hold when it would be easier to cave. It's the steadiness you maintain when she's emotional, unpredictable, or even pushing against you. That edge is what makes her feel safe enough to relax into her feminine, because she knows if you can't hold the line with her, you can't hold the line with the world. Let's make this real. Tom is 52, a financial advisor in Denver. He started dating Rachel, 47, a marketing director known for her sharp wit and strong personality. At first, Tom thought winning her over meant being endlessly agreeable. He laughed at every joke, agreed with every opinion, adjusted his schedule to fit hers. But Rachel didn't lean in. In fact, she grew distant. The more Tom tried to smooth things over, the colder she became. One night, Rachel tested him. She snapped at him in frustration, expecting him to backpedal like always. But this time, Tom didn't. He stayed calm, looked her in the eye, and said, "I won't be spoken to like that. If you're upset, we can talk, but I'm not going to play this game." For the first time, Rachel's face softened. She didn't storm off. She didn't argue. She actually smiled. Later, she admitted that moment was when she started respecting him, not because he was harsh, but because he finally showed his edge. That's the paradox most men never see. They think keeping the peace keeps her love. But a relationship without tension is a relationship without passion. A woman doesn't crave a man who always gives in. She craves a man with an edge, a man who can be kind, but not a pushover, strong, but not controlling, loving, but not desperate. The Stoics would call this living with virtue. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Many men think they know how to keep a woman by being agreeable, safe, and easy. But real strength isn't in smoothing everything over. It's in standing firm in truth, even when it risks upsetting her. That's the edge she needs. That's the edge that awakens her desire. Tom eventually realized Rachel didn't want another man she could dominate. She wanted a man who could stand beside her without collapsing. And once he embodied that edge, steady, calm, unmovable, her attraction skyrocketed. She leaned into him more, she respected his time, and she admitted she'd never felt so feminine in a relationship before. So here's the truth. She doesn't need you to be perfect. She doesn't need you to be agreeable. She needs your edge. She needs to feel that you won't compromise your identity just to keep her happy. Because without that, she may love your comfort, but she won't feel your power. Now, if you're ready to hold your edge and stop folding, type it in the comments. I hold firm. And don't step away, because what's coming next is the final piece, the truth that ties it all together, the one shift that will change how she sees you forever. Number 10. Be the storm she trusts. Every man wants to be the calm in her chaos, to be the steady hand she can lean on. But here's the truth most men never realize. It's not just about being calm, it's about being powerful. A storm doesn't apologize for its force. It doesn't ask for permission to exist. And yet, when she can trust your storm, she'll surrender to it completely. Women don't fantasize about men who are endlessly agreeable. They fantasize about men whose energy is undeniable. Men who bring intensity without recklessness, strength without cruelty, depth without weakness. That's what it means to be the storm she trusts, not chaotic, not destructive, but powerful enough that she can let go in your presence. Think about what a storm does. It commands attention. It moves the world around it. It's unpredictable, but it has a rhythm. It's dangerous, but also magnetic. That's exactly how your masculine energy should feel. When you walk into a room, she should feel the gravity of your presence without you saying a word. When you speak, she should hear not just words, but conviction. When you act, she should know that you'll follow through no matter what. This doesn't mean you create drama. It doesn't mean you throw your weight around to prove yourself. The storm she trusts isn't the storm that destroys. It's the storm that cleanses. It's the storm that clears the air, forces truth into the open, and makes her feel alive in ways comfort never could. The Stoics would tell you that storms are inevitable in life and in love. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The man who becomes the storm she trusts isn't the man who avoids conflict or discomfort. He's the man who meets it head-on, grounded, unshaken, and even fierce when necessary. That's what separates him from the rest. Women test this without even realizing it. They push, they provoke, they challenge, not because they want to control you, but because they want to feel that your energy can withstand it. If your storm collapses at the first sign of resistance, she can't trust you. But if you remain steady, passionate, and unmovable, she feels both your power and your safety. That combination is irresistible. Here's the paradox. The world tells men to be soft, to be loved, to play nice, to never upset her. But love without polarity is comfort without desire. She doesn't need another man who blends in with the background. She needs a man who shakes her world just enough that she can let go of hers. Being the storm she trusts means owning your desires openly. It means leading with conviction even when she questions you. It means holding the line when she tests you, not with anger, but with unshakable resolve. And it means bringing energy into the relationship that both excites her and grounds her. Too much comfort, and she disconnects. Too much chaos, and she fears you. But the storm she trusts is the balance of both, dangerous enough to excite, safe enough to surrender. So the question is simple: will you be that man? The man who brings presence so powerful she can't ignore it. The man who leads not because he begs for love, but because his energy demands respect. The man who doesn't hide his fire, but refines it into something she craves. Be the storm she trusts, not the storm that destroys, not the storm that fades, but the storm that commands her surrender. That is the final secret. That is what awakens the dark fantasy she'll never admit out loud, but will always feel in your presence. What you've just heard isn't theory. It's not abstract philosophy. It's the hidden truth behind attraction, the part most men never see and most women never say out loud. We've covered the 10 shifts that separate comfort from desire, hesitation from confidence, weakness from power. And if you take them seriously, you'll stop guessing how she feels and start becoming the man she naturally responds to. This isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about reclaiming your presence, your edge, and your purpose. When you do, you won't have to chase. You won't have to beg. You'll simply attract because your energy speaks louder than words. If that resonates with you, make sure you subscribe. There's a new video every day giving you the tools to stay grounded, powerful, and impossible to ignore. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.